Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today is our final review of Old Star from Darkthrone. Alright, we spent this entire week listening to this album non-stop, front to back, shuffling it all over the place, and I gotta say that my opinion overall since my first impressions has probably stayed pretty much the same. I don't love this album, but I definitely don't hate it. I did enjoy listening to it. I found it to be one of those albums you could just put on whenever you want and have it just play. But the downsides to this come when you really start focusing on it, because there's a lot of monotony there. It's a lot of very basic sounding stuff. But to the credit of that, this is fundamentally, to me, this is the fundamentals of what metal is. That's what you get from this. Now, a band that's been doing this for 30 plus years, this is their 16th album, I think. You'd think that they'd be kind of reaching for more technicality or something like that, but they stay true to themselves, right? Do they stay true to their original sound of how they were when they first kicked off? Not really. You know, but their sound has changed over the years. This album falls in line with the later half of their career. It's definitely more heavy metal orientated rather than black metal orientated, mainly because of the percussion. I find them vocally and melodically with the guitars and stuff very black metal to me.
Yeah,
lots of tremolo picking, got the anguished vocals. That feeling is there. Percussion wise though, lacks blast beats, it lacks that raw aggression, very simplistic on the rhythm section. And you know what, I'm talking about the album as a whole, as you know, so I'm not really narrowing it down to certain songs because they kind of are all very similar.
They're all the same thing in a way. It's not like every song is exactly the same. There are a few bits of each song that makes them unique, but it's really hard to tell. Like, you could put this album on and not know which is which, and then you look at the title, oh, that's what this one was called.
Yeah. Even the riffs, like the riffs are different in every song, but they're all so similar still. Like the tones are the same, the riffing patterns are very similar. They play a lot of the same just notes and note arrangements. It's just all too much monotony.
Yeah, this album honestly surprised me in one way. I don't hate this album. I was thinking to myself after our first impressions that, you know, I feel like if I listen to this album too much, I'm going to hate it and it's going to be the same thing over and over. It's 6 songs, it's super quick, but honestly, every time I put the album on, I thought to myself, do I dislike this? And the answer was no. It's, you put it really well. It's something you can just put on. Like, it's so perfect for being background music, whether you're drawing, playing a game, doing whatever, like just browsing internet, I don't know. Like, it's such good just background music, but as you said, once you start to focus on it, it starts to just, it lays itself in front of you. It's very simple, straightforward, there's not much depth to it.
Yeah.
So I would say that hurts it because the album just gives you what it does and then that's kind of it, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't really allow you to look further into it, it's just really straightforward. And one thing I found interesting is that you mentioned last week that there's a bit of a doom metal kind of vibe from this album. And I really only started to notice that once I started looking at the rest of their discography. I looked at their 2013 album that I forgot the name of, and I heard clean vocals, I heard a lot more structure to the songs. I was thinking, wow, this is very different from this current album. So it kind of made this current album sound a lot more original to me, but at the same time, it's still just very straightforward, and I kind of wish they did make it a little bit more structured, did throw in a little bit more melodic stuff, maybe just to spice it up. But yeah.
Yeah, I do think there's an audience for this though. I think that there's definitely a section of metalheads that gravitate towards this kind of metal that's not technical, but still deep and still heavy and still just rock, and you can rock out to it, right? There's a section of metalheads that this is geared towards.
Yeah. I
don't think I fall into that category. I feel like I listen to so much metal, and metal is such a, it's a very diverse genre, and most of it can get pretty technical. This is just so basic at every level that it's really hard for me to get into it and enjoy it on a level that I enjoy other metal. but like I said, the fundamentals are there.
Yeah.
Like, this reminds me of like getting together with friends in a garage and just starting to jam. This is the kind of music you'd make.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of, right? You start off with the pure basics, you know, simple chords, you know, just you know, alternate picking, just anguish, you know, whatever kind of rough vocals you could throw at the microphone, and some simple beats, and you work from there and you build up. This sounds like an album that should have been released back in like the early 90s.
But I mean, with saying that, you could say that they have a lot, like they stay true to their sound.
They did in certain ways. Like I said, I don't know. It's just the word fundamental keeps coming back to me because that's what I feel like this is. This is like a blueprint for what metal is, right? In a lot of ways, like it's got everything you hear in metal, like even other genres. It started with this. It started with these sounds, and then it just worked its way up over the years and got more technical, more progressive, you know, more elaborate. So I give it credit for that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that as a positive thing. I think that is a good aspect of this album.
Yeah.
That it kind of just allows you to just enjoy just the purest form of metal that there is.
And that makes it so accessible for anyone.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not, I would say neither of us fall into the category that this album is specifically geared towards, but I think we both appreciate this because it's so accessible and easy to listen to for any metalhead.
It's actually a really good point because there was actually a few times while I was listening to this album where I was at work or whatever, and non-metalheads would be walking by and be like, oh, that's a pretty cool riff. Like, these people, like, you know, they might dabble in metal a little bit, but most of the time they're like more hard rock or whatever, but they're like, well, that sounds pretty cool, who's that? You know, and I'm like, oh, that's, you know, Darkthrone, new album. And they're like, oh, I never heard of it. I know, but, you know, so the fact that you said it's accessible, I've seen the proof of that. It is. It's something that can draw people in. Was there any song that really stood out to you, though? Because there was one that stood out to me a little bit more than others, and that was Alpman. And The Hardship of the Scots also was a really good song. But Alpman, for some reason, whenever that song came on, I kind of got a little more into it. It felt a little more driving for me.
You know, it's really tough, honestly, because a lot of the songs sound the same in a way. I remember earlier on throughout the week, the title track was speaking to me a little bit, but then it just kind of started to blend in with everything else. The riff that happens like halfway through Alpman that like keeps kind of going, like we talked about a little bit throughout the week, so that kind of made the song get like
kind of ingrained, yeah.
Kind of ingrained, yeah. Like I know that one just because of that one riff, because we talked about it. If we didn't talk about it, then I don't know if it would have done that for me.
Yeah,
but
what we were talking about basically is they play the riff several times and then they drop an octave and keep playing the same riff. And I don't know, we just thought that was cool that they did that. There are little cool elements like that they do throughout the album, but it still is all very standard basic stuff.
Exactly, like it's really simple, but it still kind of works.
It still sounds good, yeah. It still sounds good.
Yeah, so it's honestly, it's really hard to point out a lot of notable songs. I mean, I do like the double bass that was in the first track, I'm Muffle Your Inner Choir. I like that. And you know, that kind of shows the element of black metal in there, but that's really not frequent on this album.
It's not, and you know what, it's not even that spectacular. Like, it's something different, it's something like at least refreshing for the album, but like it's eighth notes on the double bass. Like, it's not even that special. Like, so I mean, a lot of drummers nowadays can do that with one foot. Like, it's not even, it's not even a big thing. But anyways, I think we should just get to ratings. We're just gonna ramble on about the same thing. So, what do you rate Old Star?
All right, so Old Star, I can't say I dislike this album, but I can't say I really love it. I've been somewhat neutral on it throughout the week, but I do enjoy how you can just put it on. So this album gets a 5.5 from me, because overall rather neutral, but I slightly liked it.
Very cool. Yeah, I kind of share the same sentiments as you guys can tell from my comments in this video. I did like the album, but it just lacks any spark. It lacks anything pretty, you know, interesting to really comment on or enjoy. But it is still a good album to put on. You can put it on, enjoy it. You can have it on in the background for whatever. So I'm gonna give it a slightly higher score than you. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. So decent scores. I wish I had a little more to it, but it is what it is, man. I think that Darkthrone, you know, they stay true to themselves.
Yeah, and this album's still worth putting on. Like, honestly, for any metalhead, this album will appeal to you in some way.
Yeah, I agree with that. So be sure to leave your comments below and let us know what you guys think of Old Star. Let us know what you guys think of our opinions in this video. Like it if you liked it. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. And we'll be back with more metal content very soon. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
We'll see you guys on the next one.